All right, we are starting the webinar. We're going to wait for a few minutes. We've got a few participants rolling in. Good afternoon, everybody. All right, and I don't want to deprive you of your time, so I'm going to start with my housekeeping announcements and then turn it over to our panelists today. So as you enter into our webinar, welcome so much for attending. If you have questions of the panelists throughout the presentation, your camera and microphone are off. So you're going to use the Q&A button that you'll find on your screen. The panelists will see the questions you're typing. They will either answer them live, respond to you via chat, or if they cannot get to all the questions, they will receive a list of questions and they will follow up with you via email. This is one of many sessions PACAC is offering right now, so you'll be able to sign up for more sessions. Just look at pacac.org/virtual. And this session is being recorded, and so if you need to dip out, cannot stay for the whole time, go back to pacac.org/virtual and you will be able to view the complete recording of this and many other sessions that will be going on. So want to thank you so much, and I'm going to turn this over to our panelists.
All right. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Douglas Harrington. I am one of the admissions counselors for Binghamton University, part of the State University of New York system, or the SUNY system here. I am a Binghamton alum. I graduated in 2016 and 2017 with my bachelor's and master's, respectively, in business administration. We're so excited for you to join here. Our presentation, an A to Z guide to college admissions. I'm super excited to be joined by my colleagues Katie and Kevin, but before they're going to introduce themselves, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Binghamton and what exactly who we are and what we stand for. So like I said, we're part of the SUNY system. We are one of 64 schools a part of the SUNY system, and out of all 64, we are ranked #1. We are the #1 public institution here in New York State, something that we're very proud of. We are located in the beautiful southern tier of New York, about 20 minutes over the Pennsylvania border, where we do offer over 130 different majors and programs across 6 different schools of study. We have amazing value here, being a public institution for both in-state and out-of-state students, consistently ranked as one of the top 10 value schools in the country, and certainly have amazing academics and programs. I certainly recommend that you come check us out. Like I said, we would certainly love to have you be the next great Bearcats on our campus. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my good friend Katie, who is going to introduce herself and talk a little bit about Allegheny.
Hello, thanks, Doug. Spoiler, Katie. I'm with Allegheny College. I'm not going to tell you when I graduated because, spoiler, I'm much older than Doug. So with that, I am in my 8th year of admissions. My official title is Assistant Director and Coordinator of Transfer Student Programming. Very small font at this point. So I am with Allegheny, as I said. We are known for being one of the colleges that change lives. We are in northwestern Pennsylvania, around 1,800 students. With that, we have a couple claims to fame. So just very quickly, we are officially the greenest college in Pennsylvania. We are the only carbon neutral college in the state. Very proud. We were ranked #1 in the country for research opportunities for undergraduates. And our big thing with the liberal arts education, every one of our students is required to have both a major and a minor. Our marketing team did out the math just about a month ago. And I can now officially say that we have 999 possible combinations of things to study. So you get the very, very customized education. And that's going to be a lot of what's defining my perspective on college admissions today. So with that, my pleasure to hand it over to Kevin.
All right, thanks so much, Katie. Thank you guys again for attending today's session. Again, my name is Kevin Hooker. I'm the admissions counselor here at Lycoming College in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Been here just a little bit over a year now, and I deal with students primarily from the northeastern side of Pennsylvania, as well as upstate New York, southern tier of New York. So Douglas, I might be working with a couple of your kids too. Lycoming College is definitely a smaller school, only 1,200 students on campus. Our average class size is going to be about 15 to 18 students. So, it definitely is definitely a small learning environment here at Lycoming. And I think a big reason, a big advantage to having a small school is just sort of having those personal connections, and, getting students opportunities to network and sort of see if this is something they want to continue to explore. So I think sort of the biggest claim to fame here at Lycoming is our Center for Enhanced Academic Experience office. They work with students dealing with internships, study abroad opportunities. We actually just released a new report that said the class of 2019, 98% of those students had a full-time job or undergraduate school just about 6 months after graduation. So I think a big reason for that is our required experiential learning that we have here on campus. We have over 40 majors, 60 minors, and sort of like Katie said, we really do encourage students to maybe double major, double minor. Really easy to sort of get involved with the curriculum here at Lycoming. So again, very glad to have you guys here today.
And with that, we'll certainly go ahead and get started with our presentation. We're again excited to have you here, and we're going to take a look at, just a general overview of what you should be looking through, through the college admissions process, and get you as well prepared as we possibly can, to have you have the best application possible for maybe any one of our schools or any of your schools that you might be applying for. So with that, Kevin has the beginning of the alphabet here.
I do, yes, absolutely. So again, this is just, very basic college information for our students. So again, for any students who might have any questions after the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat or contact us, directly. We're very happy to help you guys with this process. So A is for admissions counselors. So again, those would be the three of us here. Especially at a smaller school, you're going to have an opportunity to work with your admissions counselors. Admissions counselors are really good sources for, any application issues you might have, any questions that might come up with, transcripts or tests. Admissions counselors are also really good for any financial aid questions. So really, you're going to want to make sure you make those connections, with your respective counselor. Usually counselors are broken up by territory. So again, for example, I cover the northeastern side of Pennsylvania as well as upstate and southern tier of New York. So any specific students who have questions about the process or just sort of unsure how to get started, the admissions counselor is definitely a good resource for you. And then also we have A for athletics. At colleges, most colleges across America, they are going to offer some sort of athletics in some sort. Here at Lycoming, for example, we are a Division III school, and we offer 17 different athletic programs. We offer football, we offer wrestling. We're hoping to add baseball in the next couple of years. We offer men's and women's soccer. So, really sort of depending on your talent level, I guess, and your overall efforts to be recruited, you might be recruited at a Division III school, so a smaller school, or up to a Division I school, like Douglas's school is. So, here at Lycoming, we have about 30% of our students who are athletes. So, definitely a great way to get involved.
And of course, I just also certainly want to mention, athletics are not just for that D1 to D3 athlete. A lot of schools also do have the club and intramural athletics as well, for you to get involved in. If you want to participate in sports, we understand that you're a very athletic person, so we certainly want to get you involved with that. And many schools do have sports that on those club and intramural levels that they're not as competitive as the division sports, but they certainly are competitive, and a lot of students do participate in them.
So B is for bachelor's degree. So there's a couple of different degrees that students can get while they are in college. There's the bachelor's degree, there's an associate's degree. Here at Lycoming, we offer just a bachelor's degree. So it would be a 4-year program. It would just be, you graduate in 4 years with your bachelor's degree. If you want to maybe go on to get an additional degree, that would be something you'd have to do elsewhere. An associate's degree is typically a 2-year degree at a community college. But really the bachelor's degree is going to be just your standard degree that you graduate with from a 4-year institution. Awesome. So C is for a couple different applications. There is the coalition application, and there's also the common application. Both of these applications are typically accepted by most colleges across America. Here at Lycoming, we accept both We also do have our own standard Lycoming application. But what's really great about the common application and the coalition application is it's really sort of streamlined to, the schools you're applying to. Because most schools across the country are through the common application. You can basically just sort of, streamline them to all of the schools that you're applying to, makes it more of an efficient process. But really nothing is really going to begin, the bare bones of the college admissions process starts with that application. So, just basic profile information, basic contact information. There's also a corresponding essay that goes with the common application that is required on your application. So, in addition to filling out the profile and just, the basic, just basic information, you're also going to want to make sure you complete that common application essay as well. There's usually about 7 or 8 different prompts that students can choose from, ranging from, a proud moment you've had in the classroom, a proud moment you've had in sports, an embarrassing moment you might have had. So really sort of use that common application to really brag about yourself. There are very few times in life when you can actually brag about yourself. So definitely use that common application or coalition application essay to, really talk about something that you're proud of.
And I certainly just want to add, a question that, at least I get all the time is, do we prefer one or the other? And, we don't, it's whichever one you feel most comfortable with, whichever one you're using, it's really entirely up to you. We don't have a preference for one or the other.
I love that. And then just to add, they are a free resource for students. So colleges may have application submission fees. Allegheny's free, just to, hey, plug that quickly. But, filling out the applications themselves, completely free for students.
Yep, our application here at Lycoming is free as well. So D is for, So D is for deadlines. So there's a couple of different application deadlines that students should be aware about when they do start applying to colleges. Typically colleges will have 3 different application deadlines. There is early decision, there is early action, and there's also regular decision. Now, early decision opens up on November 15th. So that basically means that if you have all of your materials to us by November 15th, and this is pretty much for every school. This isn't just, Lycoming specific. You'll just kind of have to indicate on the common application which round you want to go. So early decision opens up on November 15th, and it guarantees you a decision by November 30th. The only stipulation with early decision is it is basically a binding contract. So it says that, if you go this way, that you will ultimately enroll at the school. Now, not a lot of students really apply early decision just because it is a little bit more limiting in terms of what the student, can do beyond that. I mean, if you're dead set on your school and you've known for a while that, school X is the place for you, then by all means, go early decision. But just know that that's going to be, again, a binding contract. Now, I usually encourage students to go early action. So early action opens up on December 1st. And we'll get you a decision by December 15th. So again, it's about a 2-week turnover, but the only difference is that early action is not binding. So it really sort of gives you, 5 or so months before making that official, college's decision. So if you want to see other schools, if you want to maybe take the SATs again, if you want to just apply elsewhere, I would definitely encourage maybe early action. So you're still, well ahead of the curve in terms of making a decision, but you still have a lot of leeway in terms of making that decision. And then anything after December 15th would just be considered what's a regular decision. So colleges usually have about a 2 to 4 week turnover in regular decision. And again, that's not binding. So, if you're kind of one of these students who is just sort of feeling out the process, not really sure what you want to do, I would definitely maybe encourage you to go either early action or regular decision. Again, just so you're sort of, well ahead of the curve. And again, this is something that you can just indicate on the common application, and then whoever reads your application can see the route that you went, and then we'll release decisions based on the deadline. So sorry, I'm just moving this. So E is for essays. So again, like I had mentioned earlier, with the common application and with the coalition application, there is a common application essay that goes with that. So, I mean, you're going to want to make sure you put a little bit of time into this. I know when I was a senior, we actually did the common application in high school, like in my English class. So, great way to, get a second set of eyes on it, have my English teacher, critique my work and make sure it looks good for the colleges. And again, this is really sort of an opportunity for you to just brag about yourself. So again, any proud moments you've had, anything that interests you, really sort of just use this opportunity to talk about those things. I mean, typically colleges want a decent length essay. I mean, if you can make your essay maybe 1 to maybe 1.5 pages, that would be awesome.
And I just want to say as well, and with the essays, and not to give away some of the other letters that you might see later in the presentation, but with a lot of schools now moving to the test optional field, we're going to be putting a lot of emphasis on other aspects of the application, like the essay. So you're certainly going to want to take the time to really go through it and make sure it's the best that it can be.
Yeah, I mean, like Douglas said, I mean, with no SATs happening, or unlikely for some students, really sort of use the essay to to sort of supplement the SATs and really kind of give us an impression as to who you are. Katie, I'm sorry, I didn't know if you wanted to add something.
Oh, you're fine. I was just going to add in that if for a second you think college admission counselors are intimidating, my essay into college was about my time as a bassoonist at a summer orchestra camp. So I'm terrifying. But with that, I've never read another essay quite like mine, so I am proud of that, if somewhat embarrassed that I still have to talk about this all the time. But I just like to put it out there that the essay is the part that we really get to hear your voice, and we love it.
So F is for FAFSA and financial aid kind of go hand in hand here. So the FAFSA, in addition to applying to all the schools that you're applying to, is really going to be a very important factor in your process as well. The FAFSA, or that is the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, opened up on October 1st, so just about 2 weeks ago. So feel free to go onto the FAFSA and start creating a profile. You can just head over to studentaid.ed.gov to get set up with a profile. Now you're probably going to want to sit down with maybe your mom or dad when you do this process, just because it is sort of an arduous, boring process in the sense that you're just kind of filling out some financial information. So any taxes, any like I said, financial records, from the 2018 year is when you would file the FAFSA. Now the FAFSA is really important because it sort of gives colleges, every college that you're applying to, sort of an idea as to where you stand financially. So for maybe some families who maybe might need more colleges would be willing to give them more grant money, more loans. The Stafford loan is going to be probably a word that you hear throughout the process. So again, in addition to the application, you're going to want to make sure that you fill out that FAFSA, because there will be some things that you will probably qualify for, again, through a grant or through a loan. But we can't see any of those until you and your parents sit down and do that. And you will have to fill out that FAFSA all 4 years as well. So just sort of keep that in mind, because finances can sort of change from year to year. For example, when I was a sophomore in college and my brother was a senior in college, I qualified for work study. And then he graduated the following year and I was a junior and I didn't get work study anymore. So, again, you're going to make sure you fill out that FAFSA all 4 years. So colleges sort of know how much you might need, and sort of how the process works is colleges will send out acceptance letters, and then about maybe 2 or 3 weeks after that, assuming you have filled out the FAFSA at that point, you will get an additional package from the school which breaks down those loans, grants, anything else you might qualify for. Awesome. So G is for guidance counselor. So your guidance counselor is going to be a really nice resource for any college information that you need, in addition to your admissions counselor. Your guidance counselor is going to be the person who's probably going to write your letter of recommendation. She's probably going to be the person who also sends your high school transcripts off. So, you're going to want to make sure that you pop into your guidance counselor's office at least a couple times, sort of as you sort of go throughout the college process. Because they can also be a really good resource too, in terms of maybe finding schools that might be a good fit for you. The three of us here have been doing virtual visits with guidance counselors. So, giving them a lot of information about the schools and just sort of, letting the guidance counselors, know what kind of majors we have, sort of what we offer. So guidance counselors, in addition to, admissions counselors, can be a really good resource in terms of getting your materials to colleges and on time. So H is for sorry, I'm just frozen here. So H is for holistic review. So, colleges, your transcript and your SAT scores, are very important, but we also do look for other things as well. Here at Lycoming, we want students who are very involved. So maybe students who, are involved in a couple of different clubs, play some sports, maybe who volunteer on the side too, who, have part-time jobs. So, in addition to the transcript and the SAT, we are going to take a holistic review in looking at the student. So, again, make sure your essay is well written, make sure your activities are pretty good as well. And those will sort of all be determining factors in determining your acceptance at the college. So I is for internships. So a really great part about college too is, they can give you the experiential, they can give you the in-class instruction and you can, learn all you want in the classroom, but until you actually sort of go out and really experience that for yourself, you're not really going to know if this is really the field that you want to go into. So I think internships in college are a really great resource, for, finding out if this is what you want to continue to do. They can be a great resource for networking after graduation as well. And like I mentioned earlier, here at Lycoming, we actually do require our students to either have an internship or study abroad before they graduate. Now, most students would usually go the internship route rather than the study abroad route. So again, internships are a really great way to sort of get your foot in the door. Again, see if this is something that you want to do. Like I had mentioned earlier, here at Lycoming, 98% of our students did have a job within 6 months of graduating or on to graduate school. And I think a big reason for that is just these internships and these resume boosters that colleges do provide.
All right, cool. Well, thanks so much, Kevin. It's my turn to take over things here. Take over the middle of the alphabet here. So next we got J for job. So kind of going off of that internship kind of aspect of college, you want to be able to look for full-time jobs, after the fact. So, that's kind of what most people go to college for, is to not only broaden their horizons and, take classes, but it's all to get that great job that's really going to set your roots in whatever field that you want to go into. So you really want to make sure that you have access to amazing career services centers at whatever institution that you want to attend. For instance, at Binghamton, we do have our Fleischman Center for Career and Professional Development. They are there for all of your internship and post-graduation needs, whether it be resume critiques, cover letter critiques, mock interviews, etiquette dinners, everything like that, in order to help you lead up to land that internship or a full-time job. So, wherever you go, you want to make sure that you have that support in place to make sure that after you graduate, you can be one of Kevin's 98% that have a full-time job or post-graduation within 6 months of graduating. So, you want to make sure that that's set up. So make sure you do your research on, where does that school send their students? Do they go into big companies? Do they go into, maybe a little bit more smaller companies? Do that research, maybe figure out what you might want to do and figure out if that school can get you there. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
If I could just add something too. If I could, where was I going with that? I'm so sorry now. Yes, I did just want to say too that in terms of jobs too, we do realize, college students, freshmen in college, are 18 years old. They don't necessarily know what they want to do right in college. So don't feel like, when you sort of go through the process and, start applying to colleges, that the expectation is that you're going to know what you want to do. A lot of students do go in undecided to college too. So, sometimes they give about three semesters, 2-3 semesters before students have to officially declare a major. So they can really sort of use those first couple of semesters to, take some gen eds, maybe take a couple of different sample classes and really sort of hone in and kind of see what they do. So again, just don't feel like you're going to be, pressured into knowing what you want to do right out the gate.
I am a big believer that knowing what you do not want to do is equally as important. And just to kind of combine I and J, those are two of the things that are really going to help you figure out maybe what doesn't work for you while you are figuring out what is your best fit too.
No, absolutely. And they certainly go hand in hand, I and J here. So you don't have to have it figured out, but that's what we're here for, to help you figure it out and to help you succeed even after your time here. So moving on, we've got knowledge for K. So this is a little bit more general, but we want to make sure that it's a little bit more so, not the knowledge that you obtain during your schooling, but it's the knowledge that you're going to, of kind of choosing your school and getting as much knowledge as you possibly can about each institution and the opportunities that are going to exist there. You know, not only that you're going to get an amazing education, but what's the social life like? You know, what do students do for fun? What's the surrounding area like? Like these types of questions that you kind of need to be asking during your college search process. And while each institution is going to be amazing in its own right academically, you want to see the other aspects of the institution that are going to kind of fill your personality and make sure that you kind of feel at home there. So we want to make sure that you're as knowledgeable as possible about each institution. That's what this kind of presentation is kind of about. So making sure that you're attending all of these different presentations to make sure that you have as much knowledge as possible when making this decision to go on to a higher education institution.
And learn about yourself too, self-knowledge.
Yeah, self-knowledge is always important as well. That's probably almost the biggest thing that we can probably provide students is helping them learn more about themselves. So next we have L for letters of recommendation. This is another pretty big part of the application process and the application itself. We've already talked about holistic review, because a lot of what I could talk about is holistic review and what exactly that means. And part of that is letters of recommendation. So certainly many schools do require at least one letter of recommendation. Us personally, we only require one. And this typically comes from a counselor. You know, your high school counselor, your guidance counselor will typically write one, and then you will go on and usually ask maybe a teacher, or maybe you're doing work while you're in high school, you know, working at a local, you know, department store or anything like that. Maybe your manager will write one. You know, someone who has both had an influence in your life and can speak to your character and what exactly you've gone through during your time in high school. It's something that us as admissions counselors do love to read, because we like to see you not only from you, but we also love to see you from an outside perspective. You know, what do other people think about you and your work ethic and exactly how well you perform? It's something that we certainly take into consideration when reviewing your application. And, you know, it's just another piece of information that we really get to know you. Not only the application and the essay and everything like that, but just seeing an outside perspective as well really helps us when kind of determining that decision and seeing you kind of succeed here again, because that's all what it boils down to. And lastly, on this slide, we do have merit-based scholarships for M. Incredibly important, right? We understand that college is getting up there in terms of costs, right? We all understand that that there's always issues with that. So we want to try to balance it out as much as possible. So that's why we do provide what we call merit-based scholarships. So merit-based scholarships, as opposed to need-based scholarships, they are different. Merit-based scholarships are typically based on your academics and your academic profile. Usually schools will take into consideration your GPA, typically your test scores, but again, not this year, at least for us. You know, our merit-based scholarships are still available even without test scores. Something you might have to look into a little bit depending on each institution. Some institutions do still require a test score to be considered for merit-based scholarships. So not all institutions are created the same way. They do differ in their own ways, and this certainly can be one of them, especially this year, that institutions do differ on their merit-based scholarships. But typically, you know, the merit-based scholarships are pretty much automatic consideration for most schools. You do apply, and we will review your application, and then some schools have some guidelines, whether, you know, if you get above a 95 GPA and above a 1300 SAT, you're guaranteed this scholarship. Some schools are a little bit more based on the class and the applicant pool. That's like us. We don't have those guidelines. We kind of review everyone as a whole and kind of divvy up our scholarships based on that. So each school is a little different on how we handle our merit-based scholarships. Some schools do have deadlines. Some schools do have applications necessary that you apply for scholarships. But, you know, most schools do have that automatic consideration, which is pretty nice, which will then, most of them will be presented in either your acceptance letter or your financial aid package as well. So it's something certainly to keep in mind, because what's really nice about scholarships is that you don't have to pay them back. We already talked about financial aid and the FAFSA and everything like that. You heard about our Stafford loans, everything like that. But scholarships, grants, everything, you know, of that nature are things that you don't have to repay, which is going to be pretty nice. So you'll hear a lot of it being referred to as free money, because you certainly want to be able to lower that cost of attendance as much as you possibly can. So certainly love to talk about that merit-based scholarship.
And I should also add as well that merit-based scholarships are a 4-year contract, basically. So, assuming you're within good academic standing, they call it, which is typically a 2 or above GPA, which I certainly hope won't be an issue for any students, you will get that scholarship all 4 years that you're in college.
Yes, and that's an excellent point. As long as you keep up that good academic standing, then that scholarship, is yours that entire time. So it's a great point. So next we have N for Naviance. So we understand that a lot of schools in the country use Naviance. We actually, on the admission side, also use Naviance. In a way, we have a different program that we use. A lot of it like booking our high school visits when we actually love to come and visit you in person, but we can't do that this year. So we have this virtual world that we're living in nowadays. So Naviance is a great tool to kind of start your college search, kind of do a little bit of research about the schools that are out there. And that's where you kind of start to form your list that I know you can kind of connect with your guidance counselor to be like, all right, these are the schools that I have on my list. Can you tell me a little bit more in depth about them? What schools do you think might fit me? Maybe they'll have recommendations that they'll send you on Naviance that'll be like, hey, why don't you take a look at this school based on the schools that you already have? Or this might be a good school based on your fit or your academic profile, whatever it might be. Naviance is an excellent place for students to kind of start and kind of really dive into the little details of each individual institution and get a nice base of which one. So it's an excellent tool. Definitely recommend that you use it. Some other schools we understand might use other resources. Whatever your school might have, use it. It's a great tool, and you certainly should take advantage of it. Next, we have O. So O, we have two here for. We have orientation and we have open house. I'll start with open house first because that usually technically comes first in the college search process. And what an open house is essentially, it's typically a time when you can just go to a college and experience everything that it has to offer. You go, it's usually big fanfare. It was a bunch of students who welcome you. I remember going to one of the open houses. I forget which one I attended back when I was searching for a college. And everywhere I went, any doorway I walked through, they clapped. There was always a student there and they clapped and welcoming you there. And there's just an abundance of energy at open house. It's usually one of my favorite events to have on our campus. And it's just a great way to go out and sample as much as the institution can. There's usually a bunch of great sessions. So for instance, our open house, we usually have like an engineering session, a liberal arts session, a nursing session. You can learn about our scholars program, our research programs, all of this amazing information available to you to expand your knowledge. Yeah, you see what I did there? To kind of, like I said, learn as much about the institution as we possibly can. You can take a tour. It's just a really great way to explore all that. Right now, a lot of schools are doing the virtual open houses. We are actually right in the middle of Binghamton's virtual open house. We are going through this Saturday, and we're hosting another one in November. So it's something that can kind of take a look at, especially if you like to do these big college tours. I remember going on a big 4-day college tour when I was looking, and that incorporated a couple open houses. And it's just a great way in a short amount of time to experience a lot of the college. Now, of course, we also have orientation as well. Orientation being, after you do commit to an institution, you go and you get to spend the night there. It's usually 1 or 2 overnights. And it's just a nice introduction to where you're going to be living for the next 4 years or so. You get to learn more about the campus layout, the classes. That's sometimes here at Binghamton, you even register for your classes at orientation. So it's just a nice way to kind of acclimate yourself to the college campus. And next, of course, we have P for public versus private, a big thing that you should be considering when going to school. Some schools like Binghamton and Allegheny and Lycoming, you are public as well, correct? No? Did I lie? I don't know the Pennsylvania.
It's actually a private, but it's
all private. Okay. So I don't know. So I'm from New York. Don't blame me. I don't know the public system as well in Pennsylvania. But so that's the thing. I just expanded my knowledge, right? It's something that you need to kind of, ask yourself whether or not you want to go to a public versus a private. Public schools are typically, especially if you're an in-state student, do typically have a lower cost of attendance. Usually they're subsidized or partially funded by the state government, and that helps lower the cost of tuition for students. If you're an out-of-state student, so like if you're a Pennsylvania student looking to come to Binghamton, that cost is going to be a little bit higher just because, a lot of the taxes that people pay help fund these institutions. So that's why there's a little bit of a cost difference, because, you know, if you're a Pennsylvania student who attends a New York institution, the taxes that you were paying didn't go to that New York institution. So there's a couple different nuances with it. And of course, private schools do offer an amazing education. You know, they just tend to do a little bit more expensive, but again, they also offer amazing grants and merit-based scholarships and everything like that to kind of help with the cost with that. So it's something that you want to certainly ask yourself whether or not you want to see yourself attending a public or a private. And of course, for Q, we have questions. Ask all your questions. We love answering questions, especially about our specific institutions. You know, make sure you're asking as much as physically possible, because again, this is a really big decision and we want to provide you with as much knowledge as we possibly can. I think you're good to move on there, Kevin. And for my last letter, and I don't mean to speed up, but we are running out of time. We do have about 9 minutes left. My last letter is the good old letter R. As you can see, the R stands for rolling basis. And what that basically means, some schools, whether it be their application deadline, well, their applications, or when they're releasing their decisions, have a little bit more of a rolling basis, which basically means that there are no specific deadlines that this happens. So if a school is a rolling admissions, basically means that they will continue to accept applications as late as possible. There's no specific deadlines. They don't, you know, we talked about our deadlines earlier. They don't have those specific deadlines. While, you know, some schools do have those deadlines, some schools also have what we call rolling decision, meaning that there are some schools out there that will pick, hey, April 1st, every single one of your decisions will be released, regardless. So, a place like here at Binghamton, we have rolling decision where we don't have that specific date. It'll just kind of come out a little bit at a time, and, you know, giving, you know, just a few students, here's your decision, and then maybe a week later, there's some more decisions released. So just something to keep in mind that, again, not all schools are created differently or are created the same, but just something that you need to keep in mind. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katie to finish up the alphabet here.
All right, friends. So I take over at S. You've heard us mention our different school sizes throughout this presentation. Just something to think about as you are, working on your self-knowledge and what kind of learning environment is best for you. Kevin mentioned his class size. That's another thing to think about on top of the overall student population. Just thinking about the kind of relationship you are looking for with professors as well. Supplemental items are going to tie right back into everything we've been talking about with the application. So we've covered things like recommendation letters from your teacher, from your school counselor. We talked some about your essay, but supplemental items could be things like an art portfolio. Not that I have favorites, but my favorite student last year actually sent me a 20-minute video to an original YouTube comedy sketch. Love to see it. Holistic review. It was literally part of my job that I had to watch it. Please feel free. We've also chatted a little bit about test optional, just moving right along to T to keep us on schedule. So with that being said, Allegheny is completely test optional. We've been test optional forever. I'm a big fan that standardized tests don't say a lot about students in the best of times, and we are not in the best of times. So just another thing to think about when schools are saying these days that they're test optional. I think it says a lot. In addition to they value you as a learner, they value you as a person, and they don't want you to risk exposure. Tuition, we just wanted to quickly cover. In terms of, we talked a lot about the scholarships that are available for both merit and need-based aid, but just thinking about the overall sticker price of the school is going to be your tuition costs. Transcript feels pretty easy, just wanted to make sure that we mentioned it as a big part of the application process. For the majority of schools, I believe all of us here, it's not just the GPA of the transcripts that we look at in the recommendation and the application process. We are getting into things like the rigor of your classes, the trend to your grades. So it's not just the one number and we move on. We spend a lot of time with transcripts, and I just like to highlight that. Umbrella program is a term that a lot of schools use for kind of a single header program that covers a lot of different areas. One really good, oh, I'm still in you. It's okay. It's umbrella. But one really nice example of this is going to be something like a pre-med program or a pre-health program, because that can cover everything from, of course, your interest in med school, but also things like nursing, pre-veterinary, pre-orthodontry, whatever the word is for becoming an eye doctor, the whole thing. So that's going to be kind of an umbrella program where you go in as one type of student and you find your specialty within it. Virtual visits, I feel super comfortable saying that everyone already here today is killing it, super aware of what virtual visits are, and we are glad that you are here. And, you know, I know that Susan's going to come in again and say that there's a lot of these sessions going on. We do love to see it. And I'm sure that we all have incredible virtual programming going on at our individual institutions. So if you really resonate with one of the things that we're saying today, please feel free to keep checking us out. Waitlist is, I think, the least fun term that I get to cover because we already talked about the different deadlines, early decision, early action, regular decision. But the waitlist is one of the decisions that you can receive. So there is the straightforward admit letter, there is the straightforward deny letter, and waitlist tends to be a tool used by colleges to say, we think you're a great fit, we would love to hear from you, we don't have a spot for you right now, but one may open up. If you have a school that you know you want to attend and they do place you on the wait list, all you have to do is turn in your response card, and that indicates that if there is a space, you would like it. Extracurriculars, I'm going to say we are really proud that we came up with something for X. Truly, until yesterday, it said xylophone. And I'm just going to assume that you're all laughing very hard because I'm hilarious. But this is one of those things that, again, we've been talking about throughout this presentation. So it's going to be one of those things that I really just want to push in the application process. What I know about you as a person is whatever you tell me on the Common Application. And I want to highlight that the extracurricular section is optional, but we always really want to see it filled out. And it's one of those things where the more you tell us about yourself and what you are doing outside of the classroom, if that's like, hey, a traditional, role in student government or a sports team, or hey, you have a lot of time that you need to dedicate to helping out your siblings or your family, or you invented a board game, whatever you do outside of the classroom counts as an extracurricular. We put year on there just to start thinking about what you might be doing during each of your different years in high school to prepare for the college search, because of course, what you're doing as a student in 9th grade compared to 12th grade, going to be very different. So of course, unfortunately, I have no idea what year you all are in today. I'd love to do a show of hands, but that's the virtual visit drawback. So just something to think about in terms of being prepared every year and the steps that you should be taking. For Z, hey, again, like virtual visits, we are so good at Zoom, right? We're so good at Zoom. Zeme can be a really nice tool if you're looking to kind of add some art supplemental materials to your application. It actually also has some new features that help to connect students to each other if you're looking for ways to engage with students who don't go to your high school. Start exploring students interested in the same kind of schools that you are. That might be a really nice connecting tool. And finally, just to end with Gen Z, that is you guys. We're all old millennials. We try our best to understand you. And honestly, we're really glad that you're here today. I did it, 3:44. And so with that, my friends, we all really appreciate your time today. And we would truly love to hear from you. If there are any questions, our contact information is all up here. And we really appreciate your time.
All right, thank you so much. And with 1 minute to spare, nice job, everybody. If you do have any questions for the presenters, please reach out to them. Just wanted to give you some final housekeeping notes. When you close the window, a quick 4-question survey will appear. It would be really great if you would respond to that survey. There are more sessions, like I said, available on pacac.org/virtual. And the recording of this session will be available within a week. Again, pacac.org/virtual. Thank you all so much for your time and attention today. Thank you, panelists. It was lovely to see you all, and we will see you again on the next one. Bye.
Thanks so much, everyone.